Oh, I'm
now.
sorry. I was going to say something before I just got back, but I just wanted to, again, I'm sorry I was a little brusque, but just some advice to Adam for the argument to be valid. I'm not saying it's sound, but for it to be valid, he needs to change he needs to make his terms clear and demarcate between them, because for me it was like, I mean, it made no sense. For an analytical philosopher would throw that out. And that's the thing that I was trying to get at. I don't know exactly what the issue was. Now, personally, I don't find the contingency argument to be as strong as I would like it to be. Like, I think there needs to be more added on to that in order for it to be more powerful. I take a very different position when it comes to understanding, believing in God. Like, I take a more epistemological pathway, but I do believe that it can be an aid, a supplement. That said, like I said, with Adam, my sincere advice to you would, please, if you're going to create a syllogism or have some sort of refutation, please make clear your terms, make sure you're consistent with your terminology, because I guess you could say we disagreed mainly on a point of technicality, because I couldn't understand what it was meaningless. Hamza, I think you're muted. Sorry.
No, oh, sorry. So I'm just talking on the phone. Sorry, 1 second.
So no, I think that I had nothing to work with. I mean, if we were talking in more like mystical terms, maybe in like a continental philosopher, more poetic terms, like perhaps we can get into that. But being from a mathematical background, I assumed that you were discussing it more from analytical perspective, and by definition, your argument was incoherent. So that's just my objective stance on your position, and I'm sorry to have gotten personal with you. To be honest, to give you some background as to why I was a little bit frustrated, every single day I get online, and there are young people everywhere who have this idea in their head, whether it comes to Islam or philosophy or anything, that because they Google or because they read a few books, that somehow they have the same level of knowledge, or they have the same ability as people who have been studying for years. And it frustrates me to no end. So I do apologize. I didn't mean to get personal with you, but it's just something that I constantly become frustrated with. So I don't know if that was your intention or not, but I do apologize for being brusque.
No, you needed it.
All right.
Because sometimes you got to just hold your hands up and say, "Oh, you know what should happen in that scenario? Seriously? Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were a master's in philosophy. Then obviously you know more about this thing than I do, and you know more about."
Perfect by any means, but I know.
No. But seriously, if you were speaking to somebody about philosophy and they just told you they're an expert in this thing, I'd stop and go, fair enough. I'd be very careful what I'm saying. I won't start telling you you're wrong and tell me why I'm not wrong about saying you're wrong. It's just like, it's disingenuous, intellectual dishonesty, I believe. Right. We got the next one coming on the panel. I'm going to give him a chance. And James, I know you're from Speaker's Corner. You've done some horrible things there. You seem to be intellectually dishonest. Don't come on making things personal. Come on and make your point.
Good evening, panel members.
Good evening.
Okie dokie. Like, I know. I won't comment on, I know, your impression of me. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. Yeah, I've got a problem with a Quran verse, and so I know. Can I tell you like what I think the problem is?
Go ahead.
Make your claim. Make your point, and I'll carve it up, and then we'll deal with it.
In chapter 2, verse 282, it gives the instructions for believers on what to do when sort of writing out a financial debt contract. So it says, "O you who have believed, when you contract a debt for a specified term, write it down." And then it goes on to say a little later in the verse, "And bring two witnesses, or rather bring to witness two witnesses from among your men. And if there are not two men available, then a man and two women from those whom you accept as witnesses, so that if one of them, i.e. the women, errs, then the other can remind her." Okie dokie. And so, like...
What do you think that verse is saying?
I think it's saying that, to all those who believe, which means the Muslims, whenever they want to write out a financial contract, like a debt, that one of the steps they have to take is to get some witnesses, and those witnesses can either be 2 men or a man and 2 women. And so that seems to me to be kind of like, it doesn't make sense, because whereas back in olden times, you know, women wouldn't have maybe as much sort of education or experience with financial matters. Nowadays, women have just as much education as men in most countries.
Right. So I have understood your point. You're saying there's a verse in the Quran.
There's another problem. So, and the other problem is that, like, you know, psychology shows us that women have just as good on average memory.
I just want to go with your claim first. So what you're saying, there's a verse in the Quran that indicates that witnesses to a financial contract, if it's a woman, there needs to be 2 women equal to 1 man. And you think that's a problem because
it doesn't make sense. Like there's
doesn't make sense in what way?
Because women are just as capable of being witnesses to financial contracts as men are.
Right.
And just as high intelligence on average, and just as good memory on average as men, you know, psychologically speaking. That's the research.
No, that's your rationale. Go kicking in there. Yeah, you're trying to understand the verse using your own rationale as to why this is the case, isn't it?
Okay. Well, there are few assumptions. Assumptions. The first assumption is that women are not equal to men. Where is that in the verse?
Well, it gives it just says that, you know, you either need two men or you need a man and 2 women. And so
why do we need 2 men?
Well, to witness the contract, right?
Why 2? Why 2?
Well, that's just what they say. I guess it's more reliable than 1 if you have 2 witnesses, right?
Thank you. Okay. This is exactly what I'm saying about women.
But then why
is it more reliable to have 2 women?
But
why 2 men?
But why do you need a man and 2 women? That's saying that women
because
are less
in Islam,
than men.
Because in Islam, men and women are segregated.
Okay,
so women hang around with women, men hang around with men. Even in mosque, when we pray, women have a separate section, and men have a separate section. So in Islam, this is the answer.
Well, I don't. So what I don't understand about that answer is, okay, let's say women and men need to be separated. Okay, but if women were just as reliable as witnesses as men, then surely it would suffice to have 4 witnesses to the contract, just 2 women. But it says that you need to have a man and 2 women, right? Whereas if you only have men, then it would only be 2 men.
Just like you need 2 men. You just said for reliability. You just agreed. So to have reliability, you need 2 men. Otherwise, 1 man would be enough. So that means 1 man is half the witness.
So on one case, right, you can have 2 men being the witness. Okay, let's take that. Put a pin in it.
No, but this verse does not say.
Wait. In the other case, the Quran says that you need a man and 2 women. So in one case,
because they hang around. They belong to 2 different social backgrounds, Islamically speaking.
Why is it? Okay, let me put it like this. Why is it that if only men are witnessing the contract, that you only need 2 of them, whereas if a mix of men and women are witnessing the contract, then you need 3 people in total, and it doesn't actually allow you to only have women as witnesses?
I answered your question already, but you're not listening. The answer is men don't mix with women in Islam. They don't.
In that case,
yes.
Adnan,
so that's why a woman reminds a woman, and a man reminds a man. So in case you don't have 2 men, you have 1 man, and you have 2 women, so that they can remind each other. Where you don't have 2 women, you have 2 men, so that the testimony can be reliable. They can remind each other, as you confirmed. Where's the problem? And according to the Quran,
help me understand why it is that you can't simply have women being the
one second. Are you aware Are you aware? Are you aware? According to the Quran, a woman's witness is exactly the same as man's. Also,
what kind of witness are we talking about here? I'm talking about a financial.
But are you aware? Are you aware? In the Quran, we have examples where a woman's testimony carries the same weight as a man's. Are you aware?
Yeah, there are certain examples, sure, but
for example,
about this
do you know?
Instance.
What do you know? Do you know?
I've heard something like that before. I don't know the details, but that seems to be getting a little off topic.
Oh no, it's not off topic. It's not, because you're making a specific point. You're making a specific point. You're making a point that here, 2 women are equal to 1 man. You're wrong. You're wrong. The verse doesn't say that. The verse doesn't say that. On top of that, to the contrary, we have verses in the Quran that show us that a woman's testimony is exactly the same as man's.
Okay, if that's the case.
So what's your point?
Well, if what you're saying is correct, then we need to ask the question why it is that the Quran says in chapter 2, verse 282, if there are not 2 men, then a man.
I've already answered.
James,
I've already answered.
Your answer. If you go ahead, Hamza.
Let me ask you a clarification question. Do you believe both women have to bear witness?
Seems that way to me. Let me just quickly check. So that's
come on, man. This is your argument, man.
Yeah.
You both have to testify.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Right. So nowhere in the verse does it say that. It's just one woman. And as Adnan is saying, 2 women come, 1 testifies.
Let's see here. And if so, it starts off like bring 2 witnesses from among your men. So that's implying that both the men need to be witnesses. And if there are not 2 men available, then a man and 2 women from those whom you accept as witnesses. So that if one of them, i.e. the women, errs, then the other can remind her. Okay.
Yes. So, where does that say we both have to testify?
I can agree with that interpretation, that perhaps the other one is a backup, but still.
Right. Let's understand one thing, as Adnan just said to you. The woman's witness is equal to the man's.
Well, in one sense, but it's still kind of implying.
So all you're questioning now is the Quran saying that a woman alone might not be fully compliant or understanding of the financial contract. And you're correct in what you say as well, James, that there are women who are intelligent, but there are also women who are not. Yeah, well, there are women who get out of contract because not knowing. So she's told to have a sister to support her. What's your problem with that?
Why? So why aren't men? Why isn't the single man on his own told to have someone in case he errs?
Well, that's what you just said already. You have already clarified that to have the testimony stronger, there are 2 men. Why 2 men is the question. Why don't you question the problem here is, why don't you question the existence of 2 men? Why do you assume that 2 women are equal to 1 man based upon the fact that there are 2 women and 1 man?
Sorry,
there is no indication of in the verse of that. There's no indication.
James, sorry, Adnan, he's just retracted that. He's now agreeing 2 women do not equal 1 man. So, James, I don't ever want to hear that again. All right. Well, all you're questioning now is, why does a woman need reminding? Yeah.
So, well, the interesting thing is that what you're saying seems to disagree with what Muhammad says about the verse.
Oh, sorry. What does Muhammad say about the verse?
Well, what Muhammad says about the verse in Sahih al-Bukhari is that is it not the evidence of 2 women equal to the witness of 1 man? And they replied in the affirmative. And he said, this is the deficiency in her intelligence. So Muhammad's interpretation of the verse is that the evidence of 2 women is equal to the witness of 1 man.
Right. Okay. So the hadith, can you read it word by word from beginning to the end?
I'd be happy to. So
yes,
this
go
is
ahead.
Sahih al-Bukhari, the book of menstrual periods, 304, Sahih al-Bukhari 304.
Okay, stop there. Stop there. Stop there. Yes. The title, the topic. Now read.
I was
Menstrual period.
Yeah, I was about to read. Okay, so
no. But I'm just saying.
So this hadith. Go on.
So it's found in Bukhari in the book of menstrual periods.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what it said. I'm looking at it on
Right,
Sunnah.
so now we have a context to what we're talking about. Go on, continue.
Well, the thing is, this hadith appears in multiple different books. So, you know, it's the decision of the hadith collector to decide what book he places it in. It's not like anything canonical. It's not like part of the. Well, anyway, can I just read?
I want to underline as we go here, James. So,
sorry.
So you're saying the one who has expertise in placing hadith into categories, he chose to put this particular hadith in a category of menstrual periods, yeah?
Yeah, but also in other categories as well.
Which categories? Why are you reading from this category then?
Well, it just by chance. Like, this is one version of the hadith, but it's also
What
recorded in another book. Sorry?
What other category is it in?
Well, I need to get back to you on that, but I know
well,
I have.
You must know. It says another categories.
Wait. I've seen this hadith about this occasion.
No, but you just made a claim. You said it's another category. So what other categories? Unless you don't know, and you just made it up. If you just made it up,
I promise you, I haven't made it up. I can't say for certain what other books it's in right now.
You're saying Bukhari puts it in a different category, the same hadith.
Because I've seen it recorded in other places. I just can't remember the names of those other places.
But you remember the name of this one. Go on, continue.
Okay, thank you. So it starts off, and this is Sahih al-Bukhari 304. It starts off, narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, once Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that's in brackets, went out to the Musalla to offer the prayer of Eid al-Adha, or al-Fitr prayer. Then he passed by the women and said, "O women, give alms, as I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire were you women." They asked, "Why is it so, O Allah's Messenger?" Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He replied, "You curse frequently and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. A cautious, sensible man could be led astray by some of you." The women asked, "O Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, what is deficient in our intelligence and religion?" He said, "Is not the evidence of two women equal to the witness of one man?" They replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her intelligence. Isn't it true that a woman can neither pray nor fast during her menses?" The woman replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her religion." And it ends there.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Have you read any medical journals on menstruation, menstrual cycle?
No.
Okay. Are you aware of what women go through during the menstrual cycles?
To some degree.
Are you married?
Sorry?
Are you married, James?
Not yet.
Well, I'm going to give you 3 weeks. Week before, week on, week after. Get ready. Go on, carry on.
Okay. So are you aware? I mean, let's agree on some things we know. Are women feeling normal when they are having menstrual cycles?
Often there are mood swings.
Okay. Often. Okay.
Yeah.
The ones we know, they are definitely having mood swings. Okay. So yeah, no problem.
We all have the scars to show it.
So what does that constitute? What does that constitute? Mood swings.
It means being more angry than you might be normally, more sensitive than you might be normally, that sort of thing.
So basically, you're saying they're not in a normal state of being.
Exactly.
Well, that's a vague way of putting it, but
well,
you could say it, so.
It's either this or that. Are they normal?
They're not normal, but we can be a bit more precise than just saying they're not normal. I think, can't we be a bit more precise about it?
James, let me just underline something again, right? You know when a woman acts crazy, and you've heard this saying when people say, "Is it your time of month?" Have you heard that?
Yeah, I have heard that.
Right. Why do you think they say that?
Well, because it's true that often women are more sensitive and that sort of thing during this period.
No. Don't be so. their state of mind changes. And
Well,
yes or no?
In what
Yes
way
or no?
You accept that?
But well, I accept there's a change, but
Don't
I think you
do
should.
the same as they do when they're not on the menses.
Is it no? Brother Hamza, there's a better question.
Hold
There's
on.
a better question. There's a better question. Does it change for the better or for the worse?
In general, we could say for the worse, but still, like.
Okay,
I mean,
stop there. Stop there.
Hold on. Can I ask something now?
Stop there. Stop there. Wait.
Can I ask
Just stop there.
We're underlining as we go.
Well,
Welcome to the
like I feel like you're kind of. I can see where you're going, but like the.
No. You don't know where we're going.
We go, please.
Okay, but okay. Well, let's continue then.
Okay, so we agree that they are not in a normal state of being, right?
Well, like I said, kind of that's a vague way of putting it. I think we can be more precise.
Well,
but
yes, do we agree or do we not agree? Do we agree or do we not agree?
It's not normal. Go ahead.
Okay, we have agreed. We have already agreed that they're not normal, not in a normal state of being. Number one. Number two, we have also agreed that they change for the worse.
Like, I mean, I could kind of legitimately split hairs a little bit because quite a lot of women don't undergo mood swings when they're going.
No, we're not talking about we're talking about the overwhelming majority.
Do you understand when the Quran speaks that it's speaking to all women? It's not selecting the ones that might have and might not have. It's encompassing all women, because any one of them could be subjected to that.
I'm leading to a point, Brother Hamza. I'm leading to a point.
Okay, but no, so far I haven't.
So there is a point in a month. There is a point. Wait, James. There is a point in the month where women are not feeling normal, for the worse. Right. Yes.
You sure?
There is a female. She just commented as a female. I testify. This is correct.
Well, okay.
So we would rather listen to a female than to James. Anyway, continue. So we agree that they change for the worse.
Okay. What's the next step?
Do men have that psychological, physical, emotional disadvantage?
Wow, that's an interesting question because, on the one hand, they don't have menstrual cycles, and so they don't have mood swings caused by menstrual cycles. But in terms of other sort of moods, disadvantageous moods, like men are much more quick to anger, much more quick to violence.
We're not.
So wait a second.
No. We're talking about a permanent. We're talking about a permanent condition, James. We're not talking about circumstantial conditions.
Well,
we're talking about permanent conditions here.
Circumstantial condition.
No.
Let me say something.
No, I'm saying there is something physical. There is something permanent and physical about women which men do not have. Agreed?
I mean, the period isn't permanent. Women undergo menopause.
No, I'm saying
everything you're saying doesn't apply to women.
Please, try not to.
Do you agree that everything you've just said about the menstrual cycle and mood swings doesn't apply to menopausal women, does it?
Listen, let's stick to the point we're making.
James,
okay, let's stick to you know where we're going.
Yeah, but
you know where we're going.
An answer to that.
You have already made. Is this a conversation?
Questions? Can you answer one back? Does anything that you've said so far apply to post-menopausal women?
James, we're trying to have a fruitful discussion. You've raised good points.
James, what are you doing? Just so I understand. Are you saying menopausal women, they have that constant state of mind?
What, they're just constantly crazy? Is that what you're saying?
We didn't call anyone crazy.
Well, we're not. Yeah, exactly.
Saying not normal.
We're not calling anyone crazy.
I'm not saying it's not normal.
We're saying a different state of mind.
I didn't mean to use the word crazy. That was a mistake.
Use your little phrases in here.
Okay, sorry. My mistake. My mistake. I shouldn't have used the word crazy. But
I'm telling you, the state of mind changes. That's the point being made.
But I agree that that's a common thread of the menstrual cycle. That's a common effect. But you know, if you're talking about women who have gone through the menopause and no longer have menstrual cycles, then that's not a factor.
You're not listening.
Listen,
Problem.
James, we have already agreed, and we are having a fruitful discussion. We have agreed women are not going through normality every month for some time. We have agreed, right? We've also agreed, you have already agreed with us, you cannot backtrack on that they change for the worse. Yes?
Yeah, but broadly, we can say
that. Okay. So women every month, unlike men, have this state of mind, this state of being, this state of emotion consistently throughout their life until they stop menstruating. Yes or no?
Yes, but
okay.
Wait, you haven't listened to the whole answer.
No, wait.
You haven't listened to the whole answer.
We are moving
more than just one word answers. Is that okay?
No, it's not. No. James, what are you doing? Have you accepted that women's state of mind once a man changes for the worse? Do you accept that?
Yes, but the thing is,
no.
Okay. Hamza, is this a conversation or what? What's going on here?
No, there's no but about that.
Are you the only people allowed to give more than one word answers?
No. What we're going to do, we're going to underline everything you say because we know how you operate. Okay, so I'll say it again to you. You accept that a woman's state of mind changes for the worst once a month. You accept that, yes? Everybody's seen it.
Of their life often.
You accept that, yes?
Sure, often.
Right. So once a month, woman's okay. So we're in agreement now.
Can I add something else though?
We're in agreement now. Once a month, a woman's state of mind changes detrimentally for the worse. Yes?
On average. However.
Yes. Go on, you can say it. Say it loud. Say it proud.
I said like, you know, on average, that's broadly correct.
James here has conceded there's a problem with women's state of mind once a month due to her menses. Therefore, continue.
Can I say something now? Because there's two problems with where you're going here. Kind of problem number one.
Where are we going?
You don't know where we're going.
You might know. Let me say something. Kind of. Basically, I can identify two problems here. Number one is that kind of even if we concede that, you know, I mean, we should concede that on average women have mood swings during their menses. However, that isn't reason to believe that you know, their memories are kind of twice as deficient, which is what Muhammad said, like that they're deficient in their intelligence.
No, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not allowing that.
None of this. Wait, why are you interrupting me?
They listen to the words. State of mind. They don't think straight.
Okay, but what does that have to do with intelligence? Because, you know, Muhammad said that they're deficient in intelligence. And,
you said they change for the worse. You said they change for the worse, not us. You said. You agreed.
Well,
I proposed an idea. You agreed. They change for the worse.
But
because
this isn't helping justify what Muhammad said when he said that women are deficient in intelligence.
We're not justifying anything. We're just going somewhere with this argument, and you're not letting us do that.
Well, okay, fine. Please continue then.
Okay, so we agree that women have a different state of mind due to the physiology or their natural sense of being. They have a different state of mind once a month, and we also agreed that they change for the worse. Yes.
Yeah, broadly speaking.
And men generally don't have that disadvantage.
Adnan, just one second. Adnan, just one second. Brothers, please, can you stop? If you're Muslim, stop trying to join the studio. I'm trying to get Hashim back in, and you're filling up the studio. Okay, please stop jumping in. I'm going to keep kicking you. All right.
I'm finding it funny because I'm just thinking James has admitted to a whole bunch of things that he's realizing might get him in trouble later on when the women in his life, respectfully, when they watch or listen to this. But I mean, it's not about being politically correct, right? It's about being correct. We're just speaking from our experiences, what we know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And this exercise we're doing right now is not to demean or to degrade women or to disrespect them. This is stating facts. This is stating medical, physical, facts we all know. So next point. Now, having established these points, the next point is, do men have these disadvantages, generally speaking?
They don't have the disadvantage of mood swings due to menstrual cycles. However, they might have other disadvantages.
James.
Wait. Step by step. Just as
we're moving step by step. We're moving step by step.
No, but this is on your step. This is the same step. The step you're saying is that disadvantage in women.
Just follow
men have other disadvantages in their moods.
James, we will do it quicker. We'll do it quicker. Believe me. Right?
Well, okay, I'm putting a flag up here because there's something that might be glossed over, which is important.
No, nothing will be glossed over. You will speak your mind. You will say what you have to say. I'm just trying to demonstrate to everyone that there is something people miss in this discussion. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So men, in that sense, men have more normal sense of being than women do, generally speaking, proportionally speaking, looking at lifespans. True?
In terms of not being affected by menstrual cycles, yes.
Yes, you know exactly what we're talking about, James. What's the point of keep repeating it? You know what we're talking. We are talking about menstrual cycles and what they cause, right?
Sure.
Men don't have that, right?
Sure. Yes.
So men, if we were to calculate, let's say, lives of men and women, generally speaking, right? Men, in that sense, if they lived equal lives, if they lived equally long lives, men would be in a state of normality more so than women. You agree?
Well, I mean, that depends. Like, if by normal, wait. If by normal, we mean something along the lines of level-headed and calm, let's say, not sensitive, well, then that's harder to measure, because even though men don't suffer from menstrual cycle mood swings, men do suffer from greater levels of aggression and anger and quick to rage. And these are all things, by the way, which
we are not talking about. We're not talking about.
Wait a second. I need to make an important point.
James,
I need to make an important point.
James, are you trying to imply that men are easier to enrage than women?
That's often the case, especially when it comes to violence. When it comes to violence, wait.
You know nothing about women.
Listen. My point is that while we can point to the fact that women have this period of the month where they have more mood swings and they're more sensitive than normal.
Okay.
If Wait, let me finish the point. We only need to look at the prisons and see the fact that men are responsible for like 90% of the violent crime to see that men have, as a background level, a higher level of certain types of irrational behavior than women do. So for you to, we can't just very quickly and hastily say, oh, women, because of their menstrual cycles, spend less of their time in a rational states than men.
James.
Also
have
just because we have more black men in prison in the US, you're now arguing that black men are more aggressive, they are more violent, they are more criminal.
No,
is that what you're arguing?
But men are more aggressive and they are more violent because of testosterone. And we know that.
Are you arguing just because? Are you arguing just because there are more black men in prison, proportionally speaking? They are more violent and criminal than white men? Is that what you argue?
There are other reasons for that, but we know what the reasons are that men in general commit more violent crime. The reasons are due to their higher levels of aggression, and we know this from psychology.
No, but you just, what you've done, you see, you presented a case and then you just give exceptions when another standard was applied. Same standard.
No, I gave more explanation.
So why are you not give an explanation for why there's more men? Why is there more men in prison then? Tell me that.
Yeah, but part of the reason is, like a big part of the reason is because men are more aggressive because they have more.
Why is there more black men in prison in America then?
Well, but with black men, it's because, in particular, kind of, you know, black people. One of the big reasons is because black people live in poorer neighborhoods and are, you know, exposed to kind of certain upbringings that make it more likely for them to, you know, commit crime because of their deprived upbringing. But so, you know, there are different reasons in different circumstances. But we do know from psychology, that men are more aggressive, and it's because of testosterone, among other things.
That's look, your argument simply doesn't make sense and it's ill-informed. The reason why there are more black men, the reason why there are more black men in prison in the US is because the system is institutionally racist. That's one point you failed to mention for some reason. Let's move on. Let's come back to our point. Okay, right? That is the biggest reason why there are more black men. That's the reason why there are more black men.
Are men more aggressive due to their biology than women?
That's got nothing to do with the point we're talking about.
Well,
nothing.
That's what we were challenging. Okay. Let's just say
I'm going to be honest
with you.
We are discussing specifically the mental sense of mental normality. We are discussing specifically that. Are women physically or physiologically more prone to be suffering from a sense of lack of normality every month, or men are more likely to go through that? We have already established quite nicely and fairly that because women have menstrual cycles, they go through this period every month whereby they don't feel normal, they are more emotional, sometimes they may be irrational in some cases, right? So you have already established that. We have already agreed on that point. Therefore, that sense of lack of normality, to use my words carefully, that this is exactly what the Prophet is referring to. That's what he's referring to. That women. Wait, let me finish. You said they change for the worse. Now, when you say worse, and you also mentioned something very interesting. I forgot the word. You used the words. You used those words that they change. The emotions change, and they change for the worst. If that's the case, what does that constitute? When you say they change for the worst, does they mean the state of mind changes? What does change? The question is, what actually changes? What changes?
I said what changes in general. Okay. What changes is, you know, them being more sensitive. That's one of the main symptoms.
Okay, when you said they change for the worst, what did you mean by that? Change for the worst.
I mean, for instance, you know, being offended by things that would not normally offend you. Like I consider that to be a change for the worst.
Okay, is that a normal situation?
By the way, can I make another point? That doesn't mean that they're less suited to be a witness in a financial transaction. For example, let's look at. Wait. Can I finish this point, Hamza? I mean, let's just look at the fact that there are tens of thousands, maybe millions of women employed today as accountants and lawyers, and they have to bear witness to financial documents all the time. And I don't think anyone would say that women, on average, do this are less capable of this.
No, but wait. Before you go there, we're not discussing.
I haven't finished the point. Sorry. And yet Muhammad is saying in this hadith that by virtue of what it says in the Quran, i.e., chapter 2, verse 282, that this is evidence that women are deficient in intelligence. And so, I mean, how does this make sense in today's day and age when women are just as good at being, it just doesn't make sense in our day and age when women are just as good at being accountants and lawyers and bankers. So
let me correct you there.
What makes sense here?
Women were given higher status than bankers and doctors and cashiers, even as early as the life of the Prophet. Aisha was one of the biggest teachers. If there was something wrong with women's intellect, if they were intellectually inferior, if they were considered to be mad or crazy or somehow less intelligent than men, then why was Aisha teaching hundreds of men?
Why were they taking knowledge from her? So I'm making your point and you're making my point, that women are appointed as lawyers and doctors. Women were appointed as teachers of religion by the Prophet himself. So what are you saying? You're making a point.
What I'm saying is just that.
Let me finish. This goes to show that your understanding is completely misplaced. You have misconceptions, which we are trying to clear. Here, the Prophet is talking about a specific state of mind. Okay, why? How do we know that? Because in the same hadith, he talks about women having menstrual cycles and they cannot pray, and that he regards as a deficiency in religion. Is it a deficiency? He is talking about the ability. He's talking about the ability to be normal. He's not necessarily talking about lack of reward, because women, they don't lose any reward, by the way. When they're having menstrual cycle, we know for a fact in Islam that they don't lose their reward. Men are praying while women are not praying because they are going through menstrual cycle. Because Allah, God who created us, knows well that this is a very difficult period for women. So they have freedom from prayer. So deficiency here doesn't mean actual deficiency in the sense that they lose reward. They're not losing reward. They are simply not in a normal state of being. And this is what the Prophet is acknowledging.
James is trying to imply it's saying that women are lesser than men because of this. No, it's just
yes, that's what James is trying to say.
But it's not the case.
But
and I just want to
and I'm glad you have brought this question up so that we can address it.
Yeah. James, do you think women have a normal state of mind when they're pregnant?
It depends. Like, often there are mood swings then, sure.
Right. Let's be honest with you, James. You know nothing about women, do you?
I won't comment on that.
I'm going to say no, you don't. And what about women when they have a baby? When they have a baby, are they in the right state of mind then?
It's an emotional time when you're pregnant, when you're delivering.
No.
But,
do you know anything about Do you know anything about postnatal depression, James?
No, he doesn't.
I mean, that's something that exists, sure.
Right. So and we'll add menopause as well. Are women thinking straight when they're on menopause? Is their mind the same?
Well, sometimes there are, like, hot flashes or whatever, but I don't think that's a permanent state of affairs.
So, Brother Hamza, I want to clarify very quickly. I want to clarify. Why are we mentioning these things? We are mentioning these things so that we can highlight the fact that women have certain physiological features men do not have. They are different. They are differently able. Okay? Women have certain characteristics and qualities men do not have, and vice versa. So that's why different rules apply to them. So because this is a financial transaction taking place, in case one woman, I mean, this is how some of the scholars have explained, Islamically speaking, that the reason why there is a need for reminder, in case one of the women is going through that cycle at that time, okay, and she's not feeling normal at the time, then maybe the other woman is. This is one of the reasons. This is one of the explanations. This is one of the interpretations, right? But we don't have to go with that. We simply need to understand there are two men, and when there are not, when two men are not available, then there is one man and two women. This does not mean that they are less than each other. How do we know that, Islamically speaking? Because chapter 35, chapter 35 of the Quran, sorry, chapter 33 of the Quran, verse 35. Chapter 33, verse 35 mentions women and men together in one long verse, whereby they are mentioned together equally, and the punishment and reward is mentioned together. Actually, it mentions the reward. So men and women in Islam are punished equally, Islamically speaking, when it comes to reward and punishment in paradise in the hereafter. So where is the lack of equality here? Okay, so you're completely misplaced. I don't know whether it's you're not willing to understand, or you don't want to accept these interpretations or these explanations, or you just want to be you're hell bent upon your understanding and you don't want to change.
Well,
what is it?
I just read out what it said in.
It's a very simple problem. He doesn't understand women. That's his problem.
I just read out. Well,
yeah.
I
don't think he'd have a problem.
James, also consider this. Also consider this example, which Adnan alluded to. I'm not sure if the actual reference was given or not, but he did allude to the fact that in other places in the Quran, men and women's testimonies are treated equally, and then there's another instance in the Quran where the woman's testimony is actually held even above the male's testimony. So that one, I just wanted to bring your attention to that in case it wasn't brought up already. Is that's in chapter. In chapter 24 of the Quran, right, which is called Surah Nur. So chapter 24, just read the first few several passages of that chapter. But the summary of that is that in a situation where the husband testifies that he saw his wife commit adultery, and she counter testifies, they both invoke the wrath of God on them if they're lying. So the man says, may I be like cursed by God if I'm lying. I witnessed her committing adultery. She does a counter oath and says that Allah's curse be upon me if I'm lying. I'm innocent. And so basically there's a series of oaths and counter oaths. And at the end of it, her counter oath outweighs his oath. And so she's not considered guilty of adultery. So that's a situation where her oath has canceled out the oath of her husband. What's interesting about this situation is that it doesn't have to do anything with business. It doesn't have to do anything with business transactions. It doesn't have to do with a field that men would naturally know more about. It doesn't have to do with a field that women would naturally know more about. I mean, the man surely knows if he saw his wife committing adultery or not. She surely knows if she was committing adultery or not. So this is a situation actually, which is actually just concerned with the inherent honesty and trustworthiness of the person. So if anything, I'm just playing this for argument's sake. I'm not really trying to put a feminist spin on the Quran, but if I was, I could say that these verses in chapter 24 show that the woman is inherently morally superior. She's inherently ethically superior to the man. She's less likely to lie than the man. So you can spin it any which way you want. If you're not looking at it objectively, if you're not balancing things out, then you can take out any one passage of the Quran and spin it any which way and say, aha, you see, according to chapter 24, women are maybe not in matters of business. Okay, fine. We'll give that to men. But in matters of inherent morality, trustworthiness, women are superior to men. Now, I don't actually believe that. I believe God is just being more merciful to the woman here because, her life is going to be ruined if she is falsely charged. So better for our Islamic courts to err on the side of caution. So if she's willing to make that counter oath, invoke the curse of God on her, okay, then fine. We accept your testimony. You didn't commit adultery. Right.
So can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Is it not the case that if a woman were to accuse her husband of adultery, that the man could make the counter oath as well, and the same thing would happen?
To my knowledge, that situation is not outlined in the Quran. I don't know if that's outlined anywhere in the Quran. Adnan, is that?
I mean, well, I believe, like, if we're going by,
so that you just give him a
fiqhy issues, basically. And if we're going to fiqhy issues,
James, you're trying to grasp onto the rock.
Well,
we're dealing with what we're dealing with.
Well, I mean,
that was just adding a point for the people at home to learn.
Let's not
it's
go
got
down
nothing to do with your issue. Here was your original claim, and we're going to nut bolt it here. You came on and said it doesn't make sense. Why would two women have to come, one remind the other? Well, we've just demonstrated why it does make sense, because women have times in their life when they're not thinking straight, and Allah in his wisdom knows this, and therefore he's catered for all women, not just the lawyers and bankers, but all women. The housewives, the one who works in the mill, or whatever it may be, the secretary. The whole point is this: Allah in the Quran doesn't just speak to professional women. It's for all women, alhamdulillah. And why? Because Allah knows the nature of woman better than you, obviously. And thus, because of these things outlined by Brother Adnan, alhamdulillah, with regards the menstruation, and you brought the hadith from the book of menstruation, which now shows the expertise of Bukhari for putting it in the book of menstruation, because it's relative to it. So now for you to come on and make the claim it makes no sense for a woman to maybe have two witnesses after hearing all of this, I'm going to call out you for being intellectually dishonest. Now, do you accept now that it kind of could make sense based upon what we've said today?
It doesn't make sense in this day
Good.
and age.
I knew you were going to say that, James.
Because
I knew you were going to say that. Next time you come on, James, admit you were wrong.
You just got rid of him.
No. I'll tell you why, Adnan. Adnan,
Okay.
yeah? Everyone told me don't have him on, he's a troll. He's an Islamophobe. He was going to burn the Quran in the park. Yeah? So that you nearly give him a lifeline, bro. He was holding on to them rocks, yeah? Trying to change the subject. The point here is this. I said he can come on, and his point will be examined, and we'll give him an answer. And he could say, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense. That's all he had to say because we've demonstrated why it does make sense.
Yes.
And say, nah, that makes sense. Tells me he's intellectually dishonest, and here you get one chance. That's it.
And it's very kind of you to even let him on. You know, seriously, as you mentioned that he has proposed to do crazy things in the park just to disrupt the peace.
Completely. And all I wanted to do was let's hear his waffle. And you know what? SubhanAllah, I learned so much from that conversation. The comment section learned so much from that conversation. And I'm sure people around the world learned so much or will learn so much from that conversation. Now, James can't go crying to anybody saying they don't let me on, they don't let me on. We let you on, James. And James, you need to rewatch this video and you need to be honest with yourself and say, maybe this was a bit of a stupid point for me to come with because I know nothing about women. I know I'm not married. I've never experienced women. So I don't know about the psychology and the states of mind. And this was the wrong subject for me. And maybe next time, and if you come on, James, I'm going to be honest with you, you can come on again, concede this point, that you know nothing about women. You may have misread it. You didn't know the Quran speaks about women being equal to men and all of this kind of stuff. Then you can ask another stupid point, no problem. And we'll refute that as well. But you had your chance. You can't say you didn't have a chance.
Yeah,
sorry, guys.
Can I make a quick point with regards to something?
No, you want to say something?
Sorry, I had to go away. I had to come back because I had a late dinner today. But I was listening to the conversation. I mean, you know, one thing we noticed, like even in the Western world, yeah, after decades of hard work by feminists and by lots of females and even males out there, there's still underrepresentation in this STEM field. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in particular. So if you actually draw a list of top mathematicians, yeah, there might be maybe one woman in that. So it's not something that we do not even the people who have actually studied this particular physiology of the women, they will actually admit to this. And these are women who drop this list, the top list of the mathematicians and so on, and they agree to that. And one of them, I think one of the top mathematicians, forgot the name, but they actually says something like, the best evidence suggests that top mathematicians are born and not made. Now, you see, this is something quite profound coming from them. And we say, go to any engineering, any mathematics department in any university, yes, be it in the West, be it in the East, you'll see a clear disparity between the male and female representation in there. Number of men will always be more, much more. Sometimes, if you look at engineering, I think it's something like just 20% are female. And in mathematics, it's probably 40 or less than that even. And this is like after a lot of effort gone into making sure that there is an equal representation. Even then, it shows that just maybe the women are not interested in these particular topics. You see,
in fact, Hashim, in one of the Scandinavian countries, they tried to correct this by even from a very young age, from the age of primary education, they tried to encourage women towards mathematics and towards those subjects. And even then, it didn't work out. Even then, it's a much larger proportion of men that head towards the mechanical sciences, mathematics, etc.
Absolutely. Just wanted to make that point. Sorry,
I wasn't here for the majority of the discussion. So
he basically came on and said that it doesn't make sense that the Quran says that if there's only one man, you need to bring two women witnesses in case one is a weta. Yeah. says this is a demonstration that women are inferior. Then he realized that actually it's not both women who have to testify, it's just one woman, just to remind the other. Therefore, it's one woman's testimony is equal to the man's. So he refuted on that. Then we demonstrated through, for example, he brought the hadith about what the Prophet says about women being deficient in their religion and intelligence, which was in the book of Menses. Then we demonstrated to Paul James that women, they do go through this thing once a month. And like I said, week before, week on, week after, we get 1 week free. So the state of mind changes, which he actually conceded that it changes for the worst. So we have a situation now where a woman might be in a situation where her mind might be in that position, and therefore Allah is saying to her, bring someone along with you. It ain't rocket science.
Yeah. One more point I want to make, that look, giving testimony in a court is not a simple matter. Yes, ask anyone, even men fear death, so let alone women. And the Quran clearly says is that if just to support the other woman in case she forgets. And women tend to be more emotional. This is a fact. It's not something that people can just deny. That doesn't mean that just because women are underrepresented in the STEM field that they're not overrepresented in other fields, maybe in arts or something like that. So it's just a physiology of the men and women. And Allah knows best about his creations. So what he has given in the Quran or in the Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, this is from the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And the sisters rinsed him in the comment section.
There can be an aspect of intelligence in which they could be deficient, and there can be an aspect of intelligence in which men could be deficient. People talk about emotional intelligence, for example, now, right? So looking at the judge and trying to figure out whether he had a good day or a bad day at home, the woman might be able to read that better possibly than the man. So there's different components and aspects of intelligence as well too, right?
Well, someone said in the comment section, the Arabic word is not even intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are other places where the testimony of the women is favored over that of men. Like in the case of menstruation, childbirth, and all these things, it is quite clear. There are things like, for example, the women can wear silk and they can wear gold, the men cannot. So you see, these are from the wisdom of Allah. We do not complain about these things. And that's why Islam is about submission to the will of Allah. Yes, and we take it as yes, Allah.
I had a feminist in Speaker's Corner, and she was telling me about, can you be a feminist in Islam? And I said to her, do you know men and women can never be equal in Islam? And she got all excited. Oh, yeah, you see. I said, yeah, I have to go out to work and earn the dough, and my missus just has to stay at home. And then all the money I earn, I've got to spend it on the house and everything like that. Yeah, if she goes out to work, she can keep the dough and spend it on what she likes. I said, that's not fair. That's not equal. And her jaw dropped because she thought she had this position. But subhanallah, alhamdulillah, the rights of women in Islam is next level. I mean, I don't want to tell you guys, but your missus doesn't have to cook or clean for you. You do know that.
And just to end this very quickly, when people talk about women being lawyers today and doctors today, the fact that people don't know about women scholars in Islam is the reason why they bring up lame arguments against Muslims in this way. If you were to study the history of Islam and see how women were elevated, how women were dignified and honored by early Muslims, some of the greatest scholars of Hadith, starting from Aisha radiallahu anha, the very wife of the Prophet himself, starting with her and going all the way up to the 4th century. There were so many hundreds of muhaddithat, women, female scholars, and in Al-Andalus, in Islamic Spain, Asma Saeed is a scholar. She has published for Cambridge University, and she talks about medieval education system for women throughout the Islamic world, and it's fascinating. That book is fascinating. So there's so much to talk about. And also the Quran, when it mentions the story of the woman Mujadila, the one who argued with the Prophet ﷺ, how Allah answered her call, it's absolutely fascinating, mind-blowing. A woman complains to the Prophet ﷺ and Allah responds to her directly in the Quran. What more do you need? This is so powerful. It's so powerful. It's such a powerful reference in the Quran. And there's a surah upon her, in her name, Mujadila, the surah called Mujadila. You know what it means? The one who argues, the female that argues. She argued with the Prophet ﷺ, and Allah responded to her call straight away. Okay? And how does the surah begin? Allah has heard Allah has heard the one who argued, the female who argued. SubhanAllah. Okay? This is the power Allah has given to women in general in the Quran.
Yeah.
You know, so we
Wasn't
go on.
there a hadith about Umar, where he was saying something and the woman stood up and said something and he said the woman is right, Umar's wrong?
Yes. I mean, look, there are so many.
That's Umar bin Khattab. SubhanAllah.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, it was Muawiyah radiallahu anhu who passed a judgment, something regarding a housing, and it was solely on the testimony of Salama, just one woman.
Yes, absolutely.
Someone's predicted James's next question.
Forget James.
Well, I would like to. I mean, I have some comments. Oh, yeah. First off, I'd like to say that, yeah, I think this whole sentiment is coming from a very feminist perspective, which is, inherently flawed in and of itself. So there's a number of biases there that don't take into account many of the nuances of the Quranic message. Even the Hadith itself is nuanced in many ways. I mean, for example, somebody already pointed out the word aql does not necessitate intelligence; it's reasoning, and it can be particular to a particular thing. And at the same time, I want to emphasize, I mean, I understand the line of reasoning with the menstruation thing. I've always kind of seen it a little differently, though, in that I believe that women back then weren't typically in the markets in terms of financial matters, right? So that was the necessity for the additional witness, and that there were even exceptions to the rule within our fiqh, because I meant Umar to manage the marketplace during his caliphate. And if why would he do that? Why didn't he hire 2 women managers, right? So I think there are exceptions to that rule, and especially, so I don't think that James was really looking into it with as much nuance as he perceived. Yeah, that's what I would say about that. And just reading the comments, it's interesting. I just want to make a quick comment, if you don't mind, regarding some comments about Yaqeen Institute, about my affiliation. I don't know what people's assumptions are, but prior to even the existence of Yaqeen Institute, prior to the existence of people critiquing Yaqeen Institute, I was against feminism, liberalism, and I still have been for over a decade. So if you want to make assumptions about me, feel free to do so, but try to face me personally and see what happens. Okay?
You're in the arena. Bring it.
So.
Okay, guys, I would like to take your ijaza